She cheated, smirked, and said she needed a real man, so I grabbed my go-bag, left the apartment, ignored the 32 missed calls, and let her lie about me online while I stayed silent. She didn't know what I was preparing. Needed a real man. She said it with a smirk, like it was a punchline I was too slow to get. I needed a real man. I just stood there, not blinking, not breathing. 3 years together, and that's the summary I get? I thought of all the late nights I stayed up talking her through anxiety, the surprise dates, the notes I'd leave her on the fridge. I wasn't perfect, but I was present. I guess that wasn't enough. The worst part wasn't the cheating, it was the pride, the way she stood there in our kitchen like she'd just won something. I didn't give her the meltdown she wanted, didn't yell, didn't beg. I just walked out. That line stuck with me, though. A real man, as if ambition and money and control made someone real. But here's the thing. Real doesn't mean ruthless. Real means choosing kindness when it's hard. And real men don't stand there begging someone who's already turned away. So I didn't. I walked. And with every step, I felt more like myself than I had in months. 32 missed calls. When I finally turned my phone back on, it nearly exploded. 32 missed calls, 47 unread texts. The screen lit up like a warning beacon, not a connection to anything I wanted. Most were from her. A few from Jacob and Chloe. I didn't open a single one. It was strange how quiet the motel room felt in contrast. Pete, the owner, had knocked off $20 from the weekly rate just because I looked like I needed it. That kindness hit harder than all those fake check-ins from people who watched me get betrayed and said nothing. I sat on the edge of the bed, phone buzzing beside me, and didn't touch it. Every vibration was a reminder that I had finally walked away from a version of my life that never saw me. Funny how silence can feel like control. I wasn't ready to answer. Maybe I never would be, and maybe that's okay. Sometimes the loudest thing you can do is nothing. Breadcrumbs in the dark. Looking back, it's embarrassing how many signs I missed, or maybe didn't want to see. The perfume I didn't recognize. The sudden love for late nights at work. Her phone never leaving her hand, even in the bathroom. I chalked it all up to stress, to the job, to the kind of distance couples just go through sometimes. I gave her space. I trusted her. That was my mistake. Not because trust is wrong, but because she didn't deserve it. There were breadcrumbs everywhere, scattered through the last few months like a trail I was too tired or too in love to follow. The new clothes, the way she flinched when I touched her mid-text, the cold way she started saying I instead of we. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself I was mature for not snooping, but the truth? I was just scared of confirming what my gut already knew. And when it finally came out, it wasn't even a revelation. It was a punch I'd been bracing for, just didn't know when it'd land. When she smirked. It wasn't the confession that broke me. It was the smirk, that smug little curve on her lips when she said, "Yes, I've been sleeping with Jay." She said it like it was overdue, like she was proud, like she'd just told me she got promoted, not that she'd gutted 3 years of my life. And that look, cold, satisfied, was the moment I knew the person standing in front of me wasn't someone I recognized anymore. No guilt, no regret, just that smirk. That's what burned. Not the betrayal, but the way she wanted me to unravel. Wanted to watch me yell, throw something, cry. Whatever reaction she could turn into a story later. He couldn't handle the truth. He went crazy. She wanted a villain to make herself the victim. But I didn't give her one. I smiled instead. Small, steady. She blinked first. That's when her smirk cracked just a little. It was the first real thing she'd shown me all night, and the last. Friends who watched you burn. The cheating hurt, but not as much as the silence. Finding out she'd betrayed me was one thing. Realizing my friends knew and said nothing, that cut deeper. Jacob, Chloe, people I spent birthdays with, watched bad movies with, vented to after work, people I thought were mine, not hers. Turns out, they were neither. When I texted the group chat, just a simple, "Did you know?" Jacob responded first. "Bro, you're great, but Allison deserves someone more established," Chloe followed. "We didn't want to hurt you, but maybe this is a wake-up call." A wake-up call. That's what they called standing by while I got lied to, cheated on, humiliated. No apology, no shame. just a shrug dressed up as wisdom. I stared at my phone, trying to process that I was the last to know and the only one who cared. That's when I realized I hadn't lost friends. I'd just finally seen who they were. And honestly, I felt lighter. Better to stand alone than surrounded by people who watched you burn and called it growth. Group chat lies. I scrolled through old messages like I was looking at crime scene photos. The group chat, the one we used to plan movie nights, complain about bosses, celebrate birthdays. It read different now. Every joke had a hidden edge. Every compliment to Allison felt like complicity. I remembered sending a meme 2 weeks ago, something dumb about relationships. No one responded. At the time, I thought they were just busy. Now I knew better. They were quiet because the punchline was me. When I called it out, none of them denied it. We didn't want to get involved. It wasn't our place. Allison made her choice. But that's the thing. They made a choice too. Every time they laughed at her stories, every time they stayed quiet, they picked a side. And it wasn't mine. The chat's still there, unread messages piling up like junk mail. I don't leave. I don't block. I want them to see I'm still here, just not answering. Let them talk to the silence. It's more honest than anything they said while I was still trying to believe we were all friends. Keep the apartment. When I told her she could keep the apartment, she blinked like she didn't hear me right. You're just going to leave? She wanted a fight, a struggle over furniture, something to make her feel important. I gave her indifference instead. Yeah, I said, grabbing my go-bag from the closet. You and Jay can split the rent now. It landed like a slap she couldn't respond to. This was the place we picked out together. Argued over paint swatches, assembled furniture while laughing at the instructions, but somewhere along the way, it stopped being a home. She stopped meeting me on the couch. I stopped bothering to ask what was wrong. The walls felt smaller, colder, like they belonged to someone else. And maybe they did. I walked out without slamming the door. No drama, no last look. That place was just 4 walls and betrayal now. Let her fill it with lies and Instagram stories. I wasn't giving her the apartment. I was leaving behind a life I no longer recognized. A go-bag and a goodbye. It's funny, I always kept a go-bag packed, just in case. Weekend trips, sudden getaways, whatever. I never thought I'd use it to leave my own life behind. I didn't pack with rage, didn't slam drawers or rip clothes off hangers, just folded a few shirts, grabbed my laptop, charger, and keys. Left the toothbrush. There's something weird about taking that. She followed me through the hallway, asking where I was going, what I was doing. Her voice was sharp, but it shook at the edges. I didn't stop, didn't turn around, didn't give her the satisfaction of explaining. There was nothing to say. Not anymore. At the door, she said, "So that's it?" I finally looked at her. "Yeah, that's it." And then I left. No final line, no slow-motion goodbye, just the weight of the bag over my shoulder and the lightness in my chest I hadn't felt in years. I didn't know where I was going, but for the first time in a long time, I knew I wasn't staying. The motel and Pete. The sign flickered when I pulled in. Sunrise Inn, though it looked like it hadn't seen a sunrise in years. Still, it was open, and I needed a bed that wasn't ours. The lobby smelled like old coffee and lemon cleaner. Pete sat behind the desk, watching some game show on a tiny TV. Mid-60s, maybe, with a slow, steady voice and a look that said he'd seen it all. "One night?" he asked, not looking up. "Maybe a few," I said. When he asked for a card, I hesitated just a second too long. Something must have shown on my face, because he raised an eyebrow, then nodded to himself. "Rough night?" I gave him the barest version. Relationship ended, needed space. He knocked $20 off without asking. "We don't charge for fresh starts here," he said. I didn't know how to respond, so I just nodded. The room was plain, bed, dresser, lamp that buzzed faintly. But it was mine, quiet, uncomplicated. I collapsed onto the mattress, shoes still on, and stared at the ceiling. It wasn't much, but it felt like freedom. The survivor story she posted, 2 days of silence. That's all I gave her. When I finally turned my phone back on, her voice wasn't what greeted me. It was her version of me, plastered across social media like a bad tabloid spread. Instagram stories, tear-streaked selfies, long captions about surviving emotional abuse. She said I was controlling, manipulative, that I monitored her every move, that she feared me. Every post got hearts, comments, support. "You're so strong. Glad you got out." Men like that never change. I should have felt rage, but all I felt was surreal detachment, like I was watching someone else's breakup unravel in real time. She was rewriting the script, painting herself as the heroine of a story she lit on fire. And the worst part? People believed her. People I once toasted birthdays with. People I would have trusted with secrets. All I had was silence. She had the spotlight. But silence is underrated, because when a lie gets that loud, eventually people start asking questions. And I was ready to answer, just not in the way she expected. Gemma's warning. The text came in while I was scrolling, half zoned out in the motel room. "Hey, check your email. Something's going around the office. Gemma." Gemma, the one coworker who never took sides, quiet, observant, polite in a way that always felt like armor. I opened my inbox with zero expectations, then saw it. A company-wide email about creating a safer and more inclusive work environment. No names, but the timing wasn't subtle. Thinly veiled HR speak sent just days after Allison's story started making the rounds. I sat there staring at the screen, realizing what she'd done. She didn't just cheat, she scorched the earth behind her, trying to get ahead of the narrative, infecting every space I existed in with her version of events. I called Gemma. She answered on the first ring. "Be careful," she said. "This isn't just drama anymore. She's making it professional." I asked why she was warning me. Her answer was simple. "Because I've seen this before, and it doesn't end well for people who stay quiet." That's when I stopped watching the fire and started gathering water. Juliana's confession. I wasn't planning on seeing her. I just needed to grab some clothes from storage, maybe a few things that still smelled like peace. Then she showed up. Juliana, Allison's best friend, the one who always looked like she knew more than she said. She glanced around the lot like we were meeting in secret. Maybe we were. "You need to be careful," she said, voice low. I laughed, tired. Bit late for that. But she wasn't smiling. Her hands were shaking. "Jay's wife. She's connected. Allison's been telling people you're unstable, dangerous, that she's scared of you." I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. It didn't come. "Why are you telling me this?" She looked over her shoulder, then back at me, voice barely audible. "Because this isn't the first time. There was another guy, before you, at work. She and Jay did the same thing to him. He left town." It hit me like ice water. This wasn't about a breakup. This was a pattern, a playbook, and I was just the next name on a growing list. That's when I stopped feeling heartbroken and started feeling dangerous myself. Mrs. J sends a message. It showed up in my message requests, an Instagram DM from an account I didn't recognize. Profile picture. A woman in her 40s, sharp eyes, expensive jewelry, a presence even through a thumbnail. The message was short. "We need to talk about my husband and your girlfriend. Coffee tomorrow?" Signed, Mrs. J. My hands went cold. Allison always said Jay's wife was cold, controlling, too busy with charity galas to care. She painted her like a ghost haunting their perfect romance. But ghosts don't send messages like that. This wasn't a warning. It was a move. I didn't reply right away. Just stared at the screen, heart in my throat. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Walk away, let the flames burn down whatever they wanted. But another part, the one that had been humiliated, lied about, erased, leaned in. Because this wasn't just about love anymore. This was a game, and I'd been on the losing side long enough. I typed, "Tell me when and where," and hit send. Walking into the company party. I wasn't supposed to be there. That's what made it perfect, Mrs. J had insisted. Sometimes the best revenge is just letting people see. The hotel was sleek, full of polished glass and people pretending to enjoy themselves. I walked in late, dressed in the sharpest suit I owned, the kind of quiet entrance that makes people double take. The room shifted when they saw me. Conversations paused. Drinks stopped mid-air. Allison's smile dropped faster than her champagne glass. Jay's face drained of color like a ghost walked in. And I didn't say a word, just smiled. Chloe approached first, already tipsy. "You've got some nerve," she slurred. I raised an eyebrow. "After everything you put Allison through?" Before I could answer, Gemma stepped in, her voice clear, sober, and sharp. "Actually, I think it's time people heard the real story." She wasn't alone. The night wasn't about making a scene. It was about making them reveal themselves. And trust me, nothing is louder than watching someone's lies unravel in a room full of people who believed them. The meltdown goes public. It was like watching dominoes fall, one quiet truth knocking over 100 loud lies. Gemma started it, calm and measured. Screenshots from company chat logs, snippets of Allison bragging about Jay, planning the story, laughing at me behind my back. Then came Mrs. J, perfectly timed, stepping up with a tablet. Emails, photos, even parking lot footage. The kind of proof that doesn't leave room for spin. And finally, Juliana's voice, small but clear. "I helped her do this to another guy. I can't do it again." The silence afterward was so thick you could hear glasses sweating. Allison's mask cracked fast. "You think you're so clever," she shouted across the room. "You and that bitter old woman, ruining everything. Jay loves me." Jay didn't even look at her. He was too busy trying to speak with HR. She kept yelling, unraveling in real time, mascara running, voice shaking, everyone watching, no one stepping in. Someone was filming it. Jacob, of all people. Thought he was helping Jay. Instead, he captured Allison's fall in HD. The meltdown didn't need a narrator. She told the whole story herself. "You didn't run." The party was over, not officially, but emotionally. Done. Jay locked himself in an office. HR was making calls. And Allison? She had stormed out crying, followed by whispers and the sound of her heels echoing down the marble hallway. I stayed behind, lingering by the door, not sure why. Maybe just to watch it settle, to breathe in the aftermath. That's when Mrs. J found me again. She touched my arm, not gently, but with purpose. "Thank you," she said, meeting my eyes, "for being the one who didn't run." I didn't know how to respond. No one had thanked me in weeks, months, years, maybe. I just nodded, throat tight. "They always run," she added. "The ones before you. They left quietly, afraid. But you—" She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. It hit me then. I wasn't just someone who'd been wronged. I was the interruption in their cycle, the break in the pattern. Maybe I wasn't the one who was broken after all. Maybe staying and letting the truth breathe was what real strength looked like. Apologies after the fire. The next morning, my phone lit up like a slot machine, but this time it wasn't accusations, it was apologies. Jacob sent a paragraph that started with, "I didn't know the whole story," and ended with, "Hope we can talk." Chloe's message was shorter, just, "I was wrong." Some even came from people I hadn't heard from in months. Co-workers, friends of friends. They all said the same thing in different ways. They believed her. They sided with her. And now they were sorry. But here's the thing about apologies. They're not time machines. They don't rewind betrayal or erase silence. They're just reminders of who stayed quiet when it counted. I didn't respond, not out of spite, out of clarity. I used to think forgiveness meant inviting people back in. Now I know it just means letting go, without reopening the door. So I archived the messages, all of them. Let them sit like a gallery of ghosts I don't have to carry anymore. They watched the fire. Now they're choking on the smoke. The insurance folder. Pete called me in the middle of my shift. "She's here, parking lot, making a scene." I knew who "she" was before he even said it. Allison. Mascara streaked, clutching a manila folder like it was a weapon. She was sitting on the hood of my car like she still owned some part of my life. "I have dirt on everyone," she said before I could speak. "Messages, photos. You help me stop this, or I burn everything down." I didn't flinch, didn't argue, I just held out my hand. She hesitated, then gave me the folder. Inside, screenshots, chat logs, receipts she'd collected like trophies. Things she kept just in case people like me grew a spine. Her insurance policy. I took photos of every page while she watched, then handed it back. "Release whatever you want," I said, "but look around. How well did your last plan work?" She stared, eyes wide, then tore it all up, right there in the lot. Screamed until her voice cracked. "Someone recorded it." Of course they did. It was online by sunset. She used to control the narrative. Now she was just noise. And I didn't have to say a word. The last scream. It didn't come in a phone call or a carefully worded post. It came in a parking lot meltdown caught on someone's iPhone. She was pacing, shouting, fists clenched like a child denied dessert. "You'll all regret this. I gave everything. They were nothing before me." The final scream wasn't rage, it was panic. A sound you make when you realize the power you once had is gone and isn't coming back. No one stepped in. No one tried to comfort her. Even Jacob stayed silent, recording it at first, then slowly lowering his phone like he didn't want to be part of it anymore. The scream echoed for a few seconds after she was done, and then silence. Embarrassing, hollow silence. That was the moment it ended. Not when HR got involved, not when her lies were exposed, not even when Jay's wife filed for divorce. It ended when her voice broke, and no one cared. I didn't say anything, didn't gloat, didn't smile, because when someone screams into an empty room, you don't need revenge. They're already living it. The best revenge. They say the best revenge is living well. I used to roll my eyes at that, thought it sounded passive, weak. But now I get it. I signed a lease on a new apartment last week. Small, clean, mine. No ghost of someone else's perfume on the pillows. No lies hiding in the drawers. Works better, too. Turns out when people stop trying to ruin you, you actually get stuff done. I got a promotion, more responsibility, more trust. Even started seeing someone. Slowly, quietly, no rush, No masks, just honesty, and it feels good. Allison? She's gone dark, moved back in with her parents, last I heard. Jay? Blacklisted in his field. Their names trend every few days, for the wrong reasons. And the friends who picked sides? I haven't blocked them. I just stopped answering. Sometimes silence is louder than any confrontation. I didn't burn anything down, didn't fight fire with fire. I just walked away while they lit their own match. And honestly, watching it all collapse without lifting a finger, that was the best revenge of all.